Ted Collins, producer.
Pablo Bryant, producer, director, cinematographer, cartooning, Mr. Fish cartooning from the deep end. Triple threat.
You're important. Mr. Fish, Dwayne Booth is my real name. I'm the subject.
Of Mr. Fish cartooning from the deep end.
Yes.
Which you guys are world premiering, yes?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you.
So this is 5 years in the making.
Yes.
Okay, so how did all of that begin? Who brought the team together? Whose idea was it? When did you really get going on this project?
So I discovered Mr. Fish. In 2011, maybe 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah. Had bought his book. He has a book out called Go Fish. I think it was your first book.
It was my first book, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you should, did you buy it after you heard me on the radio?
Yeah.
Was it one of the incentives? Like, was it a donation and they sent you the book?
I think I just found it somewhere. I don't think I donated.
Yeah, you're not going to get, especially at like any sort of public radio thing, you're not going to get anything
No.
from, yeah,
No.
okay. I just wanted to make that clear.
But yes, I did. I heard him on the radio.
No, but please support your public radio stations. I didn't want to,
NPR, man.
yeah, right.
It's where it's at.
All the way. While it's here still.
Yes.
Word.
Positivity.
Yeah, well, all right. So let me back up then. I heard Mr. Fish on the radio. He was talking about how he experiences each day of his life as the 5 stages of grief, but in reverse, such that he wakes up with acceptance for the world, and he goes through anger, and he ends up in denial so that he could go to bed at night. And it had to do with how he experiences the world. In other words, when he looks at the exploitation in the world, when he looks at how the world runs, he goes through all these experiences and all these emotions. It really resonated with me. So I made a point to buy his book. I bought his book, and the book blew my mind. It's 5 essays, and it's full of cartoons. And I really felt like I had discovered a voice that was talking about the world that I also experience. Because I'll go through the 5 stages of grief in reverse every day myself when I think about how the world is run and what we are losing every day in terms of the environment and the exploitation in the world and the degradation of the world. And there's a lot of dark stuff, but I found this mind that was able to tackle these issues with humor and precision, and also often a lot of the cartoons are not necessarily even funny. They just really just get right to the point. They get right into the issue. So I felt like here's an artist who's really, we share the same world. I found an artist who's talking about the things that I struggle with every day when I'm alive, when I'm awake. These things are on my mind. So I was immediately magnetized to the art, and then I met him at a gallery show and
You were magnetized again.
Yes.
Oh, man.
That cool stare
It's
of
that
yours.
magnetic personality.
Yeah, it's
Just
that
comes
sly
through the
smile.
pages.
Yeah.
Hair gel.
That's always important.
You mean mine?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we met, and I just started filming.
That's awesome.
I flew out to Philadelphia and began filming at the 4th of July. We went to, we were going to do a big hoopla around the Occupy movement that was very big at the time, and that fell flat, but I discovered all these other gems and filmed all these other things that ended up being in the film. So that's how it began.
So how did you guys, really we got 3 professional artists here, 2 filmmakers and a print artist. So how did all 3 of you I feel like you would have needed to mesh your artistic voices together in order to make a cohesive film and present a story. Am I right?
Well, I began filming just on my own. I'm a cameraman.
Mm-hmm.
I have gear. I have sound equipment. So I just one-man banded it for a while. It was just me and Fish and my camera and my audio gear, and I was just juggling everything and making it work. and filmed for maybe about a year. And then Ted is an old friend of mine and a producer, and I knew I needed help with the film. It's just impossible to make a film entirely on your own. And I needed someone who knew how to produce, and Ted and I talked about it, and I'll let him kind of describe his experience in terms of getting involved with it, about why he was attracted to the material. But in short, he saw who Fish was and was like, okay, we got a dangerous, brilliant, unusual mind on our hands here that he's provocative. And I think that was attractive to you, right? I mean, that's basically it.
We actually didn't even have a story. Pablo just started shooting, and the story sort of came about, which is really not the way you should structure a documentary, but that's probably why it took 5 years. But it worked out fabulous the way it ended up working out, because there's a true story in there, and the story basically is that there's no venues for artists like this to show their work. Papers dying, the newspapers, print, it's not there anymore, and this is the politics have changed, recently, and that really helped. That helped strengthen the ending of the story. But I think we can continue and keep shooting this and go on and on and on, because it's just, I'm talking series, maybe.
Responding to the world.
Right. But, I had a lot of faith in Pablo. We worked together many years ago on a film, and, I never made a documentary before, and it was sort of became a labor of love for me just to be a part of it. And Mr. Fish is just, fascinating character, just to set up a camera and hear him talk. He's got a lot of stuff that I identify with. He can pretty much mimic or do any type of art, pencil drawing, all kinds of stuff, which is pretty fascinating. So I'm attracted to the strength of his, artistic ability as well. Not only what he's saying as, through his art, but.
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, I'm looking at the poster back here. Is this your art?
It is.
Is this yours?
My head, yeah.
So let's talk about the log line. If dangerous art doesn't have a place in our world, does a dangerous artist? For me, that was more what the movie was about, rather than just, let's talk about an interesting person's life. It was, the overarching question, like, what is the artist's job? What is the artist's role in our society? So I'd like to hear you guys speak to that as, like I said, 3 professional artists.
Well, as I said earlier, I found an artist that I really resonated with that I didn't see anywhere else. And part of the reason you don't see this kind of work very many places is because it is dangerous. It's dangerous because it's questioning the status quo. It's dangerous because it's deconstructing how we think about things and what we believe. And when you start to mess with what people believe, it becomes emotional. People have strong reactions to it. He's gotten death threats, both under the Obama administration and under the Bush administration. Have you racked up any yet under the Trump?
I got one.
Okay, so.
3 for 3, man.
Yeah, 3 for 3. Yeah. And that also tells you something about why he's dangerous, because he's not going after the right or the left. He's critiquing something else. He's critiquing something about how we operate as human beings. So it is dangerous. We have Graham Nash in the film. He talks. This was off camera, but he was saying, you're dangerous. He was looking at me because you're making this film about this guy. You don't believe in maintaining the status quo. And, I think that resonates with a lot of people, but a lot of people don't engage with that fully because it is dangerous to do, because you can be sort of looked at as, oh God, this guy's really This guy or girl is like really out there. I don't know if I want to be associated because
Well, let me just say, because I hear that, and it's such a white person's problem. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Because it is. It's just like, it's really dangerous because I might be uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and it's just hilarious.
You could offend me.
That's right. So and that's what's funny about it, because I feel like being called a dangerous artist is, I understand that label, but I feel like it's much more my mission to just be like, in a way, everybody should be dangerous. Everybody can be dangerous. It's just, I can make a pretty picture, and I know how to sort of like turn a phrase, visually. And, we can have a debate about whether that's talent or just ignoring certain rules and expectations from people. I just sort of like barrel through. But it's really just a way of just trying to be honest about conversation. And if that makes people dangerous, then I hope this movie shows that it's not only important to be dangerous, but it's also fun to be dangerous. Because I look back at just like the people that have really turned me on, and it's their artists. Jazz. Coltrane thrills me. And he was dangerous, But inside of that, there's this, the language of that danger should be considered the meaning of life. It's the stuff of life,
well, also it's dangerous because it's free, right?
Right.
There's freedom of thought, there's freedom of expression, there's no sense of self-censorship. So he's really compelling and inspiring to me because I come across my own hesitation. How much can you deal with adult language in this?
Go for it.
So the film starts off with him describing how he made these paper airplanes that said "fuck your ass" on them when he was 7 years old and threw a stack of them out the window.
And got caught.
And got caught. I've made those paper airplanes, and I didn't have the bravery to actually write those words. I have like F asterisk K C K your A money symbol. And I'm a 47-year-old man, and I realized like this was intimidating to me. And it's because I'm not completely comfortable with that sense of freedom. I'm not completely comfortable with having people criticize me like, hey, why did you throw that paper airplane that says fuck your ass on it?
Right.
I'm not completely comfortable having that conversation. That's a difficult thing for me, and I think most people would probably be similar to me. They would have the same hesitation.
Yeah, there's more rewards to self-censorship.
Well, you don't have to have that uncomfortable conversation, right? Or that difficult conversation.
Well put. But but you're right. But the way I would extend that is with another story where I get to say fuck, which I'm going to do now. I won one year. I won the SPJ award, the Society of Professional Journalism Award for cartooning. Big award. Great. So for the ceremony and the publication of just like talking about why what I should say about winning. In the description, I said that one of my favorite quotes from Lenny Bruce, which informs my art like no other quote, and it's something I actually continuously think about. It's on my wall, in fact, is he said, take away the right to say fuck, and you take away the right to say fuck the government, right? I'm like, it's perfect. So I sent it in, and they loved it, but what they had to do was just, like Pablo was saying, in the program, it says, Mr. Fish is moved by the, non-censorship and blah, 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 and this is his favorite quote, and they had to add those things to the F word, so essentially it was just like, so in seeing it in the catalog, in the magazine, it said, take away the right to say, and you take away the right to say, the government. And I was just like, that is just delightful.
Yeah, and that's how much people are scared by language, and that's an adult. That's a association of journalists. There's no children there. There's no reason to censor that word. We're all adults. We've all heard and used the word.
Right. Yeah.
It's just fear.
And the danger, the added danger to that is that being that timid, you can understand in a public space, okay, fine, there's certain rules. But I think that if that slowly seeps into how you think about things, I think that timidity, is that a word?
It is.
Can actually disallow you the opportunity to have internal conversations where you can figure things out, because if you are conditioned to have the reflex that just like the word fuck is inappropriate, sometimes what makes something profane or obscene is not just the word, it's the idea. So then you're not going to go deep with ideas, and that's where it gets dangerous. And that's where I think that my job is to reveal alternative ideas in such a way that acts as a proof that it's not poisonous, that it's not taboo, right? It's just like, the first time I saw moon rocks, I remember I was a kid, my uncle took us to Cape Canaveral. I could not wait to see moon rocks. Because I'm like, wow, this is spectacular. They're actually from the moon. I'm going to be a different person having seen the moon rocks. And then going in and seeing in this, glass case, it's just like, they're just rocks.
Just rocks.
And it's just like nothing has changed. But it gave me that opportunity to be like, oh, things actually are only what they are. And so all of the talk and all of how politics and religion inform the magic of certain things, once you actually get in their presence, they become literal. And then you're like, oh, now is this a usable, literal situation or idea? Mm-hmm. Or is this something that should be disavowed of its magic that people are reacting to, but they're not understanding?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've talked about risk and danger, and there is a physical side to that as well. And you don't dwell on it too much in the film, but you do address a little bit your reaction to the Charlie Hebdo massacre.
Right.
So when that reality is out there, how do you carry on?
Well, that's the thing. And that's, again, it's so interesting to be in the United States as a cartoonist and have that happen over in France. Because quite honestly, when that happened, bone-crushing dread and sorrow over the circumstance aside, part of me was jealous of the fact that they were able to have an editorial meeting of cartoonists. I can't remember the last time that happened for me. Mm-hmm. So there was that piece. But then the other side of it, because Pablo and I, actually, some of the footage that Pablo shot was at a cartoonist conference in Ohio. Mm-hmm. Okay? And so this was pretty soon after that, mm-hmm. right? And I know many cartoonists, and I don't like their work. I like them personally, but I mean, as far as the subjects and how they engage in these things, they pull their punches. They think that they're actually being radical when they draw a authority figure as a clown. That to me is not radicalism. It's like parody, and it is defanged, and who cares? So of all of these cartoonists, of which there's very, very few anymore in the United States, that's another thing that people should recognize. It's a dead art form, really. To think that they would merit anybody getting so angry that they would have to be silenced is comical to me. Because when Pablo and I went, if you remember, when we would move as a group as cartoonists at on the campus at Ohio, we were escorted by police officers and guards who had like bulletproof vests on and like machine guns.
Oh, they brought out the Kevlar for you, Mr. Fish.
Yeah, and I was just like, what, this is just like, and I looked at the other cartoonists and they had that look on their face, just like, wow, we are a dangerous group of, I'm just like, none of you people have created anything that merits, I mean, I feel like slapping you, but I'm not going to shoot you, because you're mediocre, But I mean, it's after that happened, to hear on the radio, just like, we're so great because we love our First Amendment freedoms. We have freedom of speech, and we do this, that, and really look around, and is it really exercised to its full? No. The First Amendment is behind glass and break in case of an emergency, and people keep letting the bar go further and further away about what an emergency is. I would say we're in an emergency now.
How so?
To the streets,
Storm the Bastille.
How so? I mean, it's just look at like what is the democracy anymore? How are people engaged? People vote every 4 years for the president, and then there's a break, in the middle, 2 years for Congress and when those races come up, and then they think they're actually participating in a democracy. Nobody's lending a voice. Nobody's actually engaged in politics. If all you're doing is voting, you're perpetuating the continuance of power, maintaining absolute control over the society. I could go on and on.
He could.
He could, and I have.
And you have, yeah. I've been with you.
Yes.
That's where the next book will come in. Let's see the book. Hold up the book.
Yes, this is not actually quite out yet, but I will be selling it at the signings and also at the gallery later
Where's
on
the gallery?
The Ona Gallery.
They own a gallery. So, sorry, when is this going to air?
We try to get ours posted within a couple days.
Okay, so there's an event tonight, so we don't
Oh,
have to.
it was great.
It was awesome.
I sold out of these.
Well, before we go, tell us about the book a little bit. Then the world blew up.
Yes, the book is called "And Then the World Blew Up," and it came about as soon as Trump was elected. I got 2 book deals and I got a skateboard deal. There's a Mr. Fish signature skateboards that you can actually get. So all of a sudden it's just like, hey, Mr. Fish has really got his finger on the pulse. I'm doing the same stuff I've always been doing. But this is, it's got 13 essays in it and 400 cartoons.
Can I see?
Yes, you can see. I think Pablo hasn't seen this yet. So that's what that is.
Is he going to get one? He seems interested.
He does seem pretty curious about it.
Yeah.
I think he might get one.
Maybe he'll get you one.
He does.
All right. Well, you say it's the same thing you've always done, but context is part of art. So,
True.
well, thank you guys so much for coming in. We really appreciate it. Congratulations on the world premiere and hope everything goes really well for you.
Thank you.